Hello there, long time no see. This will be a quickie. I want to give you a new perspective on the Fukushima nuclear problem. Before I do, allow me to introduce you to a period in my background as seldom discussed before. Mainly, it took place shortly after the main floor. In the mid to late 60s, I had the privilege to research and teach at the Frankfurt Institute for Planungstechnik, at the time a privately funded think tank that engaged in intelligence research and taught macroeconomy to managers. Also at the time, I had the privilege to become a consultant to the design department of a leading German power plant designer and builder, Kraftanlagen Heidelberg, which was and is involved, among others, in designing and building nuclear plants. I was also, at the same time, a design consultant to Ricoh of Tokyo, for which I designed products leading to patents and the introduction of their copiers into the United States, which gives me somehow an emotional relationship to whatever happens in Japan. So, when the Fukushima plant became the center of worldwide attention, it caught mine too. Let me make a long story short. There are two basic rules in nuclear plant design you have to observe, unless you're totally incompetent. First, you never ever build a nuclear plant on a fault line or at the shoreline vulnerable to tsunamis. And second, you never ever design and build a nuclear plant without incorporating a fail-safe backup cooling system that works independently of any power failure and has sufficient backup cooling liquid available regardless of what happens. The Fukushima plant was built by General Electric and violated both rules. The fact that GE violated both rules may make it liable for damages caused by the disaster should a meltdown, I hate that term, actually happen. First, it had an obligation to advise the Japanese government of the danger of building a plant on a fault line and so close to the shore. And secondly, it had an obligation to see that Rule 2 is being taken care of, regardless of higher construction costs, which are merely a token compared to the damage a violation of Rule 2 could cause. In turn, it represented to the Japanese that its design was safe, despite grave concerns voiced by its own designers. Think about it. The design deficiencies of GE reactors were well known some 38 years ago, but never disclosed. One of their designers even quit GE in protest. So, may GE be liable? Good question. According to Fox News, GE may escape liability under a practice known as channeling. Now, channeling means that the design contract requires plant operators to sign at a minimum a $1.2 billion insurance plan. Nice try, if you ask me. GE had an obligation to disclose its known design weaknesses. It did not. GE had an obligation to incorporate fail-safe backup cooling systems. It did not, despite the fact that its weaknesses were known to GE's management. Now, I know that many of you hate the mere idea of relying on nuclear power, as George W. would call it. Indeed, German Minister Westerwelle and others in Germany, in India for that matter, seem to get cold feet. I respectfully disagree. Nuclear plants can be and are being built that are absolutely safe if you observe the two basic principles I just listed, and are environmentally friendly compared with coal-fired plants. If we eventually switch to electric vehicles, let's say the Opel Ampera or Chevy Volt, just as an example, we will need sufficient electric power to operate these cars, short of solar. The switch to electric will make us independent from hostile foreign nations that make the destruction of our economy the main goal. So please relax and hope that most of our nuclear plants in Europe have been and will be built using Kraftanlagen Heidelberg's safety systems. As to GE, I just hope they didn't forget to sign a good insurance contract for themselves. See you.